Welcome, ladies and gents. It is I, Will from Ghost Hack, and today I'm going to be breaking down the demo track that I made in FL Studio for the Ultimate EDM Bundle from Ghost Hack. Now, if you have not heard of this mystical or magical bundle before, it is the Ultimate EDM Bundle that you can find on the Ghost Hack website, and it contains 5 different packages for all kinds of sort of pop and future EDM production. The link to this page right here can be found in the description of this video. You can go in and bring you right here. You can read more and listen to more about it, but what I want to go over today is the demo track that I made for this, and every sound you hear in this demo track either comes directly from or is derived from one of these 5 packs. So before I pick the whole thing apart, let's just give it a little listen. So it's a very short, very bouncy little track we have going here for the demo, and I'm going to break everything down that I did in here. Now, as I said, everything that you hear from this demo comes from these 5 packs. I'm not going to go through every single individual sample and find the exact location in each pack. That would be very time consuming and not very informative, but I will take some of the major elements and show you, where I got them and from which pack so you could locate them later. But I guess I will just start with these drums. So right now we're just looking at some kicks and claps, which is going to be kind of the main thing here. Let's see, let me solo these. So I have just normal kick from Future Pop Nation 2, and then we have this sound, that little clap, which is kind of a harder clap. We have that one, which is a little bit looser, and then we have this one. It's just a little bit more full. I wanted to take just a few different claps from different areas because there were a lot of different good kicks and claps from all of these packs. They all work very well. You can see I have the sidechain going right now, which is just a limiter going up and down. I'm going to show you what things I routed through the sidechain a little bit later, but just keep in mind that that's hitting on every kick and the kick clap. I also have this right here, just a little percussion loop that I sort of stretched into place. I have this ride. That's just kind of quiet in the background, but if I took it away, you would definitely hear that the track would be a lot less filled out. Over here, I have this other loop that I added. And it kind of has like more shakers going, it's a little more energetic. There's more stuff happening, so it gets a little more energetic in this half of the drop. And then I have some sound effects here. We just have this. Just a big crash downlifter sound effect. It really helps to fill out the space. And we also have this crash, which I reversed right here. Kind of stretched it into time, and I used that in other parts of the track as well. But now moving on from the drums, we're going to kind of move on to the instruments in this drop, and we're going to move on to the vocals as well after that. But right now, the main thing that you heard, especially in the beginning, is going to be this. Now the cool thing about this is both the sound and the chord progression came from this pack. Now I used it in Serum, but all I did was I took one little synth hit from the Future Pop Nation 2 pack. It was just a little synth hit that sounded like this. And I just dragged it and dropped it right into Serum Sampler. And as long as you hit that little note pitch tracking and then you hit the one-shot mode, you should be able to play it on your keyboard and be able to play actual notes with it. I just kind of pitched it into place here. And I also used the note tracking to kind of pan it back and forth. You see when I hit a really low note, it's all the way down here and the panning goes all the way to the left. And when I hit a high note, the tracking is all the way up here and the panning is all the way to the right. So it just adds some kind of stereo action that I kind of like. That's the benefit of using it in Serum. You can do that, as well as a little bit of extra sub and things like that, a little bit of delay and reverb, just, you know, your normal effects for a sound such as this. But that's playing the chords that actually come from this audio file. Now this is from the Future EDM movement. That's the chord loop that I originally heard, and it's kind of started with that. And it came with the MIDI. The Future EDM movement came with all the MIDI for all their patterns. So I took that MIDI and applied it to that sound that we just heard in Serum. And then the next instrument I have here is this one. There it is. That nice plucky bass. You can see I just took a singular bass hit. I made sure that I pitched it nice and low at C so I could play it just normally on the piano roll. And I changed a little bit of the things here. I gave it a little bit of out, changed the sample start, but basically it's just that bass hit that I'm playing the pattern with, and it matches up, especially with the kick and the claps, very well. It is definitely going through the sidechaining as well as these. Well, this chord loop is. This one is just standing on its own because I didn't think it really needed to be sidechained. It wasn't super powerful. And then the next thing that you hear before I get to the vocals would be this sort of lead flute sound. And this was actually a lot of fun. What I did was I took this sample right here, this flute sample that I had muted earlier from the Future Pop Nation. It was just that, right? And then I took the end and I sort of looped it. Right, so you can see all these different loops. It's just playing that over and over again, really long. So we have this of it just repeating. And there are still like tiny little bits of clicks and pops that you might hear in there, but honestly, you don't really hear that when it's in a track. I wasn't really bothered by it. Those little nuances would come even if it was being played by a real person. So I didn't really care too much about that, but I rendered that out and I did the same thing as I did before with the other sample, and I dropped it into Serum. Now you don't have to use Serum for this. You can 100% use a different sampler if you want, but you can see I dragged it right in here. And I did pretty much the same thing as far as, you know, just pitch tracking it. And then I added some effects right here to widen it and just do a little fun stuff with the EQ and reverb and delay. Now you may notice this little mod wheel movement that's actually not doing anything. For a while it was doing vibrato, but I ended up turning that off because I didn't really want vibrato in the flute that we were working with here. But that's basically what that is. And you can hear this in the intro, which is pretty much the same thing, just a little bit of a weaker version. And then you heard the sub bass drop that I just played there as well. But that's the main section of the instruments. Now I do want to get to these vocals here, and I can go over kind of the processing and stuff I did for that. So here is just the vocals by themselves.
You thought that you would use me, but love is so confusing. When I fell, you didn't even try to pick me up. You thought I wouldn't leave. How could you be so naive? You chased your heart, ignored the signs painted above. I just wanna be left alone. Just wanna be left alone.
And there is obviously more to that, but you've heard the track that I just played earlier. You can kind of infer. But I can show you the processing that I did. First of all, when I made sure to pitch this and stretch this into place, I made it like a little bit higher. It's actually a little deeper and a little lower in the pack itself, but I stretched it around to make it a little higher. With E2 Speech, I highly recommend using the E2 Speech format to stretch these samples, especially with vocals, it tends to work out very well, at least in my own personal experience. So hopping into track 10, what we have here first off is a Maximus, where I'm just compressing the lows, compressing the mids, and compressing the highs, just to make sure that, nothing weird is spiking up and poking out and, just sounding piercing or rumbling. I didn't really want any of that. You can also see that I cut the low, so I don't really have any of that low rumbly sound, which is a good thing to do. And I also did this in the EQ right here. You can see that I rolled everything off, and then I cut a bunch of stuff up top and just took out some of the annoying frequencies that came from the compression. And lastly, I just used some SerumFX for a little bit of soft clipping. I just mixed it in a little bit, along with some delay and reverb. And that leaves us with the main vocal.
You thought that you would use me, but love is so confusing. When I fell, you didn't even try to pick me up.
And then I kind of chopped it up, pitched it around to fill in those gaps. I pitched it all the way down 12 on auto, and it sounds like this.
You thought that you would use me, but love is so confusing. When I fell, you didn't even try to pick me up.
And a lot of this is because I have the built-in reverb turned on. If I had it turned off, it would sound like this.
You thought that you would use me, but love is so confusing.
But I flipped it on A and turned the reverb all the way up, so it has kind of a weird resonant room sound. And I chopped up the parts that I wanted to repeat right here.
You would use me, but love is so confusing. When I fell.
So I just have these hits hitting in between. And having that little echo in the background there is just very good for filling up space. And eventually it all starts to kind of line up a little bit here.
Are the signs painted above? I just wanna be left alone. Just wanna be left alone.
And then goes back to doing kind of an echo. And the chain for this one is actually very similar. Same Maximus, same EQ, same SerumFX. But I have this plugin right here that kind of reduces the stereo width. And you could even just do this with this knob just by going like this a little bit. That'd be pretty much the same thing. But then I have an extra EQ that's just cutting the lows even more, so it's even more sort of telephoned. Now, as far as other sounds used, they're pretty much all going to be just different percussions and sound effects. You can see I have this one hitting right on the clap. I have this one kind of replacing like a little kick. Something like that, just really simple. We have this really weird kick that I took a normal kick and added like a weird reverb to, the same way that I did with the other one. I have little percussions like this. Or this, that go in these specific spots to just add character. This one's obviously a nice reverby impact that I also reversed to go here. And then I have this ocean sound effect right here, which may be kind of hard to hear. It's very quiet, but it's good for adding just a little bit of background noise and ambience. We have the sub drop, which you already heard. Right there. And then we have just the drums, stacking up and getting a little faster in this build up. You can see we have this clap right here coming into the build up to kind of hint at the claps you'll hear in the drop. We have the drum loop that I showed you earlier. which just adds a little bit of swing, a little more energy. We of course have these risers, which are pretty much just white noise, just rising up. And then I do have a couple of drum fills here that I use. The first one sounds like this. And then this one is another one that I used right here. I took the intro from the other one and used this one. And then we have that little bit right here as well. There's also a weird sub riser here. I recommend using these in your build-ups because it's a really good way to add energy and, build tension without actually knowing that you're building much tension. Like, it's hard to hear, but you feel it and it feels like the tension is growing. Maybe it's kind of a subconscious thing. You don't know you're hearing it, but it works very well. And also, if you're curious, the vocals that I got for this track were actually from the Pop Pack number 2 inside the Ultimate Summer Vocals, and they originally sounded more like this.
I thought that you were worth saving.
So they were a little lower and a little slower. I sped them up and pitched them up a bit to make the track that we have, but that's pretty much everything I used in this demo. So before I wrap things up, let's just give this bad boy one more listen so you can listen through and pay attention to what all the little things I explained in here were and how they all kind of flow together into a track. And that is how the cookie crumbles. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the demo track, and I hope you enjoyed the Ultimate EDM Bundle. Again, you can check that out on the link in the description. We'll bring you right to this page. And on here, there are also more demo tracks and descriptions you can listen to and read about, to kind of get a better feel for the bundle and what it contains. So for those of you that stuck around, thank you guys so much for watching. You're the best, and I will see you in the next video. Happy producing.